Burr, Stewart here, and fasten your seatbelts. We have a real variety show for you today. This is a bunch of Brian Elchlepp's diesels with GMD-1 of the Canadian National. And we have some modern power that Dave brought over. And of course, SD40-2s, well, they never get old to look at. And if that weren't enough, Robin brought over some British equipment, the Rat, which you've seen before, and a brake tender, which they ran both in front of and behind the engine. And how about this? Now, this is what model railroading is all about. And not to mention the Alco C636, which we just love to watch. And we did get a couple bangs out of Scott. Bang! And finally, I did some construction updating for you. So let's get right into it. Here we have Scott's super detailed GP9, which Brian worked on over the last few weeks. Sounds good. Runs good. Looks good.
You mean nothing?
I think we'll be seeing videos of this in the future over at Scott's new layout. He's building a switching layout that represents one of the Sacramento Northern branches in Central California. Today he's just kind of breaking it in. It's a fine thing. Behind it, you see the Alco C415 that we ran in a different video recently. And of course, this SD9-6128 is the power we usually use for the Woodinville branch because of the 5% grade I have on that. Very nice. I don't know about that automatic bell. That's a feature of Tsunami decoders that I would personally turn off. If you want the bell, you push the button yourself. And if that weren't crazy enough, Darcy Zarubiak was here visiting and brought over his brand new GMD-1, which was a Canadian-built engine on the Canadian National. We'll see more of that in a minute. And Brian brought over 4 of his engines. There's the GMD-1 again. Oh, this is beautiful, isn't it? F units, Jeep 9s, RS 11s. I mean, please.
It's nice weathering on your units.
Thanks.
The CN engine, he just couldn't figure out what he wanted to do with all of this distraction. I was happy to film it. Oh, look at that. Engine's going around a curve. Now, in a few minutes, you'll see this CN engine pulling some cars. Number 1900. Now, that engine probably wouldn't have made it to Seattle, but we don't care. We're having much fun with trains, right? And look at that Blackbird scheme over there. Oh, here's another attempt at a bang, or at least I was hoping for one. We're in the Inner Bay yard now, of course. Now note that sky blue caboose there, and tell me what you think is funny about it. We'll see that again in a minute. So I was all excited to capture a bang here, but there were no cars on that track, so there's nothing to bang onto. You just wanted to drop a lone cement hopper car there. But we do like our operations, so we operate, as you know if you watch this channel. As I like to say, the fun never stops on Much Fun with Trains.
What's that?
Well, there's that blue caboose again. What's funny about that? What's funny is that particular caboose was never painted in the sky blue, but Bruce Barney, who's a great modeler and 3D printer, he went ahead and did it just for fun. And I really, really enjoy it. One of these days I'll renumber it for the BN, and then it'll really confuse people. But as I said, what matters is that we're all having fun. So again, no bang. So I turned my attention to the next thing on the main, which is that Dave had brought over a couple of modern engines that, as he said, he didn't really need, but they arrived, and so we were running them, breaking them in. Beautiful. I guess you call these legacy Santa Fe paint schemes on BNSF engines. And as you see, I still don't have downtown Seattle put back together, but you can look forward to that in a few weeks. The water heater is supposed to come in 2 days, and then we can get the basement completely put back together. Meanwhile, I had brought back a couple of SD40-2s. This is another operating thing. We stopped just short of the points. And you have to imagine a brakeman getting off the engine and flipping the turnout there. There you go. This is the lead to the engine facilities in Inner Bay. So, of course, you have to stop, flip the switch, get back on the engine, and then head on into the engine terminal. I don't know about you, but I've always liked watching SD40-2s. There's just something about their shape, proportions, those long walkways sticking out there. They look just great. There were a lot of them, too. Now, I can't say for sure if those two engines were actually purchased by 1973 on the BN, but we don't care. We just love looking at those things. But there you see the main line was holding for that engine move, and this was a rat that Robin brought over, a British Rails engine, and that funny looking thing on the front is actually just a perfectly normal brake tender, which they used because a lot of the older cars didn't have brakes on them, so they needed to have lots of braking power in the engines and the caboose. The rat is back. So they called the caboose, what we call a caboose in the United States, they called a brake van because they would be able to apply the brakes from the caboose as well as the engine, presumably to avoid pileups. Anyway, it's nice to see the rat back here, and if you search for rat on my channel, you can see some other videos of that train. Now, meanwhile, Darcy had hooked up his GMD-1 to some cars over in Everett, and he was pulling them around to Inner Bay and beyond. Give me the horn blast, and let's see what that sounds like. All right. Nice horn on that. Now, we could have a whole discussion about ice reefers. They stopped doing icing around 1973, so should I have these on the layout or not? My feeling is yes. They're really cool and they're nice and weathered, so we have a couple icing facilities and we run those ice reefers, even though it's a little late. But that's one of the advantages of modeling 1973 instead of 1976. There are disadvantages, but I like those ice reefers. They're pretty cool. Now, we need to have a bang before this video is over, don't we? Can't see it too well. And apparently it didn't even happen. But we tried. But he went in for it a second time, but I couldn't bear not to show you the C636, so I just ignored that bang, and we'll get another bang later.
Anybody running on the pass right now? What pass? No.
This is too cool. Alco C636 with a U-boat behind it, 2 U-boats behind it. Fantastic.
I'm just going to run up to
And there's the Sacramento Northern GP9 doing the switching, the banging, I should say. And we'll see those engines in a minute over in Argo Yard. But first, we're just going to admire this Jeep one more time. Sweet. So here's another pass of the CN engine. And then look what happened here. Brian was running up to Stevens Pass with his 4 first-generation diesels, and he was also running the narrow gauge, hauled by a 6-axle White Pass and Yukon engine that he repainted for the D&RGW. And so they just went together beautifully. It looks like a little bit like a drag race with the BN diesels in the lead, or at least overtaking the narrow gauge. But what a scene. This is what model railroading is about, folks. Having fun with trains, and I particularly love it when we go in parallel in the same direction at a slightly different speed. I think that really gives a good feeling. See, you can even watch the headlights and rotating beacons inside the tunnel portal. Now here's that consist I showed you a minute ago in Interbay coming into Argo Yard. I was going to use it for hauling one of the trains out of staging, south staging. So the first thing I needed to do was turn it around so that this Alco would be the lead unit, because it's just too cool an engine to waste as the third unit in a consist. I'm not going to show you how I turned it around, but after a bit of switchback maneuvers, I did. I'll show you that reversing loop some other time. So here we've turned it around. We got the U-boats in the back. The train is off to our right. We're about to have another bang. Be sure to notice those rotating wheel bearings. Uh-oh. Bang! Oh, that was hard. With a whole train back there, too. Unbelievable. There's the Rainier Brewery there on the backdrop. That model was made by Magnus Christensen, who's organizing the NMRA's National Convention in 2027 in Tacoma, the second week of August. Don't miss it. We'll have more on that later, but I'll put the link to the convention website in the description below so you can check it out. So I went over and selected 4360 on my throttle and then fired it up with the rotating beacon, the headlights, and then backed this train into staging, which we can watch now. But first we're just going to enjoy looking at this gorgeous engine. There we go. The Seattle Intermodal Terminal is where these piggyback cars are. And of course, as you know from other videos that I've done, there was a train at this era called the Pacific Zip. And these cars will end up on that eastbound zip pretty soon. I'll forget about those Elmer's glue bottles. We're still working on this area. But there's the hidden staging. If anybody tells you that a hidden staging yard is a good idea, Don't believe them. You have to be really careful shoving trains in and out and making sure there are no derailments that you can't reach. I thought I was so clever in designing a 7-track hidden staging yard, but I only came to regret it later. Isn't that nice? Alco C636, ladies and gentlemen. Doing the job of backing into the south staging yard on the Burlington Northern. Very nice. Well, meanwhile, Darcy's GMD-1 is pulling another cut of cars across the Snohomish River Bridge in Everett. You know how much I love these bridge shots. Very good. That is a nice engine. Obviously, it hasn't been weathered yet, but if you know something about these engines, you can leave a comment below on the video and let the rest of us know more about them. These are all pretty good cars of the era. Look like quite a few Milwaukee. And a couple of different types of tank cars. Bang!
There's your bang.
Yeah, that's what I need. Oh, we do like our bangs. That Jeep 9 is doing just fine. And in the background there, you can see the inner bay engine terminal with a lot of 1973 era motive power. Notice those 3 blue F units. We'll be seeing them in just a bit in action. Now the question is here, are we going to get a bang out of this maneuver? That's the question. There's only one way we can find out. It's just to zoom in on it and hope for the best. And flip the switches for a different track. That's promising. Yeah, we're coming over here. What? Stick, I need a stick. Here, I was hoping for a bang, and all he does is temporarily drop that car on the ladder. Shucks. I do promise now that we're done with the remodel project that we'll get back to doing more bangs on this channel. We've been kind of sparse in the last few months. And if you're going to do a bang, you might as well do it with a tank car, right? Then you have the possibility of blowing the whole thing up. Okay, here we go. Keep your fingers crossed. Yes! Bang! Oh, love it. This is operations. That's why I call this the operations video series. Because we're not just running trains in circles, we're banging them. And we're trying to keep track of where all these cars are supposed to be sent. Should they go to the north staging yard, or the south staging yard, or the east staging yard? Or should they go on the Milwaukee Road ferry to Port Angeles? I mean, there are just so many decisions to make. Now, is this possible that we're going to get another bang? I don't know. It's possible. Likely? Bang! All right. Excellent. All right, now I'm feeling better. So we're going to watch this last run that Scott did with a cut of cars that he put together that needed to go over to Everett. So he just ran an Everett transfer. I think we did something like that in another recent video. Just ran the Everett transfer. That green Jeep sticking out of the tunnel is staged for the jet job at the Boeing aircraft factory in Mukilteo. So here we are hauling the Everett transfer with the Sacramento Northern Jeep that Scott was breaking in. And listen for the squealer after he gets over this bridge. There it is. Very nice. Now, I saw that blue tape there. While all this was going on, Dave was also painting some scenery. And I realized he had already painted this front edge. We had done a little bit of modification there. So I went over and took the tape off while I was taking the video. I thought you'd like to see that we keep things going around here. We don't just run trains. We keep constructing things. Yeah.
I think we're going to need to do something with this.
Well, there are those blue F units that I mentioned. Brian kind of worked them over the other day, and they turned out to be real beauties. You can see they're going kind of fast. I haven't played with the decoders. And we had a little issue with this hand-built crossing. When we took it over at high speed, it derailed, but at low speed, it seemed to do okay. I'll do a little more testing of that grade crossing and make sure it's ready for the next operating session. Oh, aren't those beauties? Brian's really gotten into the question of what's the right shade of blue, and of course there's no one answer. Now, a number of you have asked, how do people bring their engines over to run on the layout? And some of them just use the original box that the engine came in, and in this case, Scott was repacking his Sacramento Northern GP9. And here's that cut-off plumbing vent that I showed you in some earlier videos. While we were running trains, Brian did some painting on that backdrop. And so I thought I'd remove the masking tape and we can admire the job he did there. Very good. You never know that it's not part of the scenery. So how was that for a wild ride? This is what happens when you get some friends together and run trains. And the truth is, you can't all be here at once in the basement, so I hope you enjoyed getting to see it here on this YouTube video. So for now, this is Burr Stewart, wishing you much fun with trains.